Welcome to Women at the Top, where we share professional journeys to inspire yours.
Hello, I'm your host, Max Zhang, founder of Human Prosperity. Today I have Rachel here. I'm very excited to have her sharing her professional journey. Rachel, can you tell us about yourself?
Hey, Max, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here. So my name is Rachael Fricke. I'm the president of Guaranty Health Solutions. I always describe myself as someone who sits at the intersection of healthcare, hospitality, and human connection. So I've spent more than a decade transforming the way patients access care and how organizations deliver. So across urgent care, service line development, you think of the emergency rooms, at how those feel, and so patient experience. But personally, I want to start with my three babies. I'm a mom of three boys and an advocate for better care, and someone who genuinely believes that small moments of kindness completely change a healthcare journey. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are?
One thing I want to start with, Max, is that relationships, human connection, work ethic, of course, is how I got to where I am. But to take you back, I started in the hospitality industry. So I worked for Hilton and Marriott Corporation before I got into healthcare, starting at the age of 18 years old. And through my mother was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer. And through that journey with her, I realized there was such a gap between hospitality and healthcare that I really knew it was calling in my mission to bridge that gap and to bring hospitality into healthcare. And so, my sweet husband at the time, I just told him, I'm so sorry. I feel a calling. God's telling me to really go towards a new career in healthcare. I went from very successful, six-figure career in hospitality, and I knew I had to get my foot into the door. So I took a $15 an hour administrative assistant role working for supply chain management and for a local health system, and was very much determined to learn everything I could, soak it all up about healthcare itself, and worked my way up to where I am today. And I'm happy to, give you more specifics about that journey. But that's definitely where it's all started, was through a personal experience with my mother's cancer journey.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Of course, in hospitality, it's just completely drilled into your head that every moment matters, intentionality versus transactional. Every conversation, every guest it's a moment to be impactful. And so that's been my mission in healthcare. And so what's really great about where I've gotten to where I am, I have worked with, so the company here, we're owned by Guaranty Corporation. Through that time in my life, I actually knew a gentleman named Gordy Rush who worked here at Guaranty, and think of that relationship as worked with him while I was at the Marriott. And then when I moved on into healthcare, again, worked with him again. And now with this organization that I've launched now, we're owned by that specific company, Guaranty Corporation. And so I just think that's so important to call out. Your relationships and your connections are everything. You never know how God's going to put your paths back together, and that these are just pillars and branches in your lifetime, in your journey, right? And so always, never, of course, we hear it all the time, never burn a bridge, but always, keep those relationships strong.
Yeah, definitely. Without a relationship, as you said, there's nothing left really. It's so important to actually, cultivate that relationship and once you have the relationship, especially with strong connections, as I said, you never know, they will give you opportunities for your next role. So
that's right.
I understand that you were previously at a VP of marketing at Premier Health. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I talked about being an administrative assistant, and then I worked my way up did project management, Well, the vice president at the time I was working for, he's like, "What are you doing here? We've got there's some folks I need to introduce you to." And so that gentleman's name was Renee Ragus. He introduced me to Steve Sellers. He was the CEO of Premier Health. And we had shared the same vision about hospitality and the patient experience. This position did not exist. They brought me in, created a position and brought me in as director of customer experience. And then I worked my way up to, actually, forgive me, I was actually the customer service manager, and then focused on front office operations. Then we moved on and created a role as director of patient experience and innovation. And so what I love so much about that role was that I created, developed new service lines. I still oversaw front office operations. So thinking of the patient journey and every touch point, that was my core focus, was how are we covering the five senses? What do we look and feel like? That was my complete focus. And then, so think of service lines like telemedicine. We launched telemedicine in our organization prior to COVID, before it was a big thing, So then when COVID hit, thankfully we were set up and ready to go to support the communities through a virtual experience as well. Because as you develop new services, and if you're running your operations appropriately, you should be linked up working with the marketing department closely, right? So I always say marketing with integrity is very important. So if you're selling it, you better deliver it. And so I would not launch anything with the marketing team until I knew for sure we're going to deliver what we're selling. And so a position came available. The vice president of marketing was retiring. Mike Higgins, one of the most brilliant gentlemen I've had the pleasure of working with, he came to me and said, "Hey, look, the team really enjoys working with you. Would you be interested in working with them?" And I actually was a marketing manager for Marriott. And so dust myself off a little bit. And then I went ahead and took that role on, and it was the best decision I ever made. And so what we did there, I kind of reorganized that department. Really, it became a division of the organization. So we created it to be 3 departments in one. So it was innovation, service line development, we built it, marketing, attract, we sold, and then patient experience, we delivered. And measure success. So you always have to measure what you're delivering. And so we created this 3-in-1 department of the organization, and it was just such a gift and such an incredible opportunity with amazing women and gentlemen that I got to work with and build that team up. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so it's definitely it's important to ensure that you can deliver the results before you can have to coordinate the entire team to really work together to deliver the final outcome. So,
and I could share with you a little more about Premier. It's pretty cool model that we had. So we were a joint venture organization. So we partnered with health systems across the nation. We had a footprint in 10 to 12 states. And we had at one point over 100 urgent care centers. So we would partner with health systems and do a joint venture model. So we would say your brand, our experience. And so we were an urgent care management company. So proud, we represented amazing health systems across the nation. Our core focus was to be a seamless extension of our partners, but of course, protect the brand at all costs. And we got to serve over 1 million patients a year. And it was just such a blessing and great, and definitely set me up to where I am today.
Okay, that's amazing. So yeah, I do also want to kind of touch point on, moving from a director level to a VP. So what do you think it took for you, and also what do you think it takes for someone, in a director position to move to the VP level?
It's interesting. I think you'll have a little bit of disagreement from some listeners on this, but one thing I've told everyone is say yes. And it's funny because I've heard others say, don't be a yes person. However, here's my challenge to you on that is if you say yes, hey, can you help me with this? Is this something you can do? Absolutely yes. Give me anything and everything so I can just be a sponge and learn. And I also believe that in management, you're again back to relationships, professional relationships with your team. If you're focused on building your team up, you're going to grow with them, right? And so I would say that. So nurturing and building a rock solid team, put your team in front of you, because I think you've probably heard the saying, behind every leader is an amazing team. And I believe that in front of every leader is an amazing team. I really am not a fan of taking credit for my team's work and things like that. So put them in the spotlight, let them grow. And I believe as you have built a successful team, you will be more successful in the long run as well. That's part of that. And then I believe that women have, and especially speaking for myself over the years, imposter syndrome. I'm sitting at a table with the entire C-suite, a brilliant gentleman who thankfully gave me a seat at the table. But a lot of women do not have that. And so I think it's okay putting your shoulders back and knowing that you deserve to be there. I think confidence is key, but do your homework. Never enter a room where is going to come out your mouth, or you're not confident in the subject matter, or bring something to the table, because I do think it's a gift to be there. And so I think just completely being overly prepared and confident in yourself will also help you succeed.
Yeah, definitely. So I think like in terms of the yes, I think it may depend on how long you have been in the role. Like I think when you're starting out, you definitely want to say yes, because you want to build reputation, build relationship and things like that. But then over time, you go to a point where you have too much things to do, too many people to manage, and then that's when you have to stay focused, and you have to start saying no. So I think that's why, depending on who you ask, you get different answers, because depending on your seniority, depending on your role, depending on how much thing you have on your plate, you're gonna have to kind of stay focused on versus not. So starting with say yes, but then at the end, eventually you might end up with saying no, so you can start focused on the high project to deliver the best outcome for the business. So, and then in terms of spotlights, I definitely agree. You definitely want to put your team first, because they are the ones doing the work. They need to be recognized for the hard work they do. However, at the same time, though, I think it's also important for the leader to shine as well, because if the leader does not shine, eventually people forget what the leader is doing. It's like, oh, what's he's doing over there? We just so it's important to actually have both. You're gonna shine the light on the team, but at the same time, from time to time, you also want to shine some light on yourself too, to show that, hey, I am amazing. I am growing this team. I'm the one who's actually building this awesome team. So, and I should deserve some credit too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can be overly humble, at times, and forget to pause and give ourselves some recognition. And a lot of times I find myself doing that to protect my team, So no, I do agree. Thank you for that.
In terms of the imposter syndrome, and I guess definitely, it's so important to to actually move past that and actually build confidence. And confidence comes from laying down stone by stone, by actually building credibility, delivering results. Smaller results builds more and more confidence. And at the same time, I just said, like, it's so important to be able to contribute to a meeting, because if you're not able to contribute, especially on a senior role, like, what are you doing there? So, and that's why in order to be reached at the VP level, you really need to be able to know pretty much, as deep as possible, and as wide as possible. The deeper you know and the wider you know, the more you can contribute to conversation, the more you can actually move and lead the conversation. And that's where the difference between someone that's just doing the work as I see, versus someone that's leading. Someone that can actually move the conversation of the meeting. You have an amazing career, so I'm sure that you also have gone through a lot of different challenges as well. Can you tell us more about some of the challenges you kind of went through and how you overcame them?
We did talk about imposter syndrome, and that is a real thing. So that will always be struggle working through that. But so I think challenges are where you really figure out who you are. So one of my biggest challenges was learning to lead in environments where things move slowly. Healthcare is complex. Innovation takes time. I had to learn patience without losing momentum. Another challenge was stepping into leadership roles where I didn't look like everyone else. I was often the youngest leader in the room. I overcame that by being prepared, staying grounded in who I am. I've also been through seasons where I was wearing every hat. As women, we are mothers and wives. And so mom, wife, leader, operator, strategist, and feeling very stretched thin. The way I got through it was learning boundaries, protecting my peace, and surrounding myself with people who fuel me. But I would say the hardest challenge was believing I could build something bigger than the role I was in. So building Guaranty Health Solutions meant stepping into the unknown, and the way through was one brave step at a time, faith, hard work, and a lot of humility.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so important to kind of lay things one brick at a time. And as long as you just keep on moving, keep on learning, each time you actually do something, then, it's only a matter of time people get there and before you actually reach success. So, and sometimes, when you actually have a big thing like, being a VP or being the president of, of a company, definitely there's a very big role. There are lots of things to do. And it can feel overwhelming. And the key to that is really to break it down. Okay, I'll do this role. What are my responsibilities? If you actually have break it down into 10 different responsibilities, now which one do you need to focus on right now? And if you just focus on the one, then you only have one thing that you need to worry about, and not 10. So the key is breaking big things into small things.
The best advice I can give someone, especially a woman, is, at home, we are building our foundation at home, right? It's the same thing in our professional life. So the way I've built Guaranty Health Solutions is we are building the foundation. Let's build the foundation. We're starting from zero. We're starting from the very beginning, which is amazing and such a blessing and exciting. And surround yourself with the right team, support. I had mentioned Guaranty Corporation, Flynn Foster. Guaranty Corporation it turned 100 years old. So Guaranty Health Solutions is so blessed to be partnered and backed by Guaranty Corporation and Flynn Foster, who is our CEO. I can't say enough amazing things, and he has built an incredible foundation here. And so the leadership team, Flynn, TJ, Forrest, our CFO, TJ's our COO, and we have mentioned Gordy Rush. And by the way, partnered with Brian Rodriguez, the founder of GatorWorks, which is also owned by Guaranty Corporation. They're an incredible digital marketing agency, and they were Premier Health's digital marketing firm. So once again, relationships, right? Being able to have a foundation like that, these partners, and then just knowing that finding gaps in the industry like we have, with the patient experience and everything like that, it takes time. So find the right partner, find the right team, build your foundation, and the rest will fall into place and it will come.
Yeah, definitely. Always plus one on relationships, and it's how it's so important to actually have partnerships, people that's supporting you. So, and that's not just on the professional side, it's also on the personal side. So I understand that you're a mother, having to balance being parenting and also work. That's not always easy. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you manage being a mother and also work?
I'm so glad you asked me that, and I might get choked up talking about that. And this is how I get through it. I have given myself permission to not give 100% in all categories. It's okay to say, today I'm going to give everything I have to my kiddos, and I'm going to work has to take a little bit of a back seat. None of it comes to a complete halt. Everything has to stay in motion, but I've just given myself the grace to say it's okay to prioritize one or the other, that you cannot hit a home run in every category of your life every single day. So I think grace to myself is number one. But what I will tell you is I do this for my children. I want, and I'm raising 3 men, so I want them to see a few things. I do it for them, and I want them to see that their future partners. Wives should have the platform and the ability to go work their tails off, be successful women, and that's something they should be proud of. I'm also hoping to be an example to instill this type of work ethic in them. Anyways, to answer your question specifically, I give myself grace. I work very hard at it, but I will say I do turn work off every Sunday. I do not work. So Sunday is time with my family. We go to church together, and that is complete family time for me. So I do prioritize that time. And I will tell you, when I get home after work at night, I'm cooking dinner. I'm doing homework. I'm still making time. We do bath time, and I have a 15-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So we just make it work. But it's such a gift. That's my number one gift in life for sure, is being a mama.
Yeah, definitely. The parenting, having kids that growing up, that's one of the most amazing things. But yeah, at the same time, I also am a parent, of two, and they can also be annoying as well.
Yes. It's so hard. My 4-year-old wants to, when I'm sitting at my desk at home and I'm trying to work, he'll want to come, get on the Zoom call with me or come type on my computer. So it can be a challenge for sure.
So can you tell us how you go about developing a good work ethic?
I'm always hungry, meaning I'm hungry to learn. I'm hungry to improve, hungry to be successful. I grew up, my father was probably the hardest working man I've ever seen in my life, and we didn't have a lot of money at all, and my mother actually had cerebral palsy and was in the hospital. Incredible mom. And so we had a challenging childhood, in the sense it was a fantastic childhood. So seeing the financial struggle of my childhood, I didn't want to go through that, and I wanted to have a different future and a different outcome. And so I think that type of motivation and drive came at an early age. And so again, wanting to always be a student and learn. And I've learned that it's not going to magically happen. So if you want to see success, and if you want to see better outcomes, and so for me, seeing the healthcare industry change on how patients navigate through their healthcare journeys and how care is delivered to be intentional versus transactional, you have to do something about it. And so sitting back and collecting a paycheck or collecting titles isn't going to get it done. And so I think that's been enough for me to drive my work ethic.
So it is, the whys, behind the actions you take, having reasons about, moving away from poverty or the life struggles or financial struggles and things like that. So I think that's one of the things that's kind of missing nowadays, in the younger generation, because they don't have that much struggles. Like all these struggles that you actually had in the past, that has becomes, the motivation that you have today, that's driving you towards better work ethic and wanting a better outcome for yourself and your family. But yeah, nowadays, young kids, they don't have that struggle. They don't have that specific motivation that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the people are a little bit less motivated nowadays. But yeah, ultimately, it's also important to actually, find that why, find that purpose, in order for you to kind of drive things forward. Either, even if you don't have a struggle in the past, but then you could also, lean towards something that you want to grow yourself, like learning, as you said, just continue to learn and grow yourself. And that can be a powerful motivator to actually be a better version of yourself. And for me, that's the key. Like, that's really like one of the things that I actually try to advocate within my nonprofit, which is to not focus too much on the outcome, like career, promotion, or money and things like that, but focus more on a new way of life, which is continuous learning. A new way of life is like life purpose purely is simply just to grow every single day. That's it. Every single day, you just focus on growing, become a better version of yourself. That's it. That is the entire purpose. And if you do that, like everything else will come to you. You will have a better job, you will have a better career, you will have a better life, you will have more money. Like all those things will come to you once you grow every single day. So that's why, like for me now, it's like purely that is the entire purpose of life itself. It's my new way of life, which is learn and grow every single day.
Hats off to you. I think that's phenomenal that you have that figured out, because I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great way to prioritize your life, to have your own better outcomes. So I think that's fantastic.
Now my mission is to help other people to realize that is the ultimate goal of life, and that is how they can achieve everything, all their dreams, if they focus on just the growth part. Like everything else, let everything else go. If they focus on that, they can have everything. So in terms of your performance on a daily basis, I'm sure there's also this specific habits or this routine, specific mindset you have that kind of helps you become a high performer. Can you tell us more about that?
From a daily task standpoint, this kind of goes back to prioritizing motherhood, but I think setting boundaries for yourself in the sense of, okay, here are my deal breakers, meaning like here's what I have to have, and for that balance and getting a successful day started. So one rule for me is that I have to put my son on the bus every morning. So bus comes at 7:45. That's, we get up early. I have a very routine morning with the children and everything like that, but get my son on the bus and my day starts as soon as I get to the office right after that. Others have very early meetings in the morning because they're their most successful self early times. That's not me. Morning time is prioritized for kiddos. And then I would say 9 a.m. sharp, it's grind time, right? And so I never start a day without a to-do list from the day before or the week before. So always have priority list. Never have more than 3 priorities. It would be my advice. If you have 10 priority things on your list, oh my gosh, that's so overwhelming. You're never going to get them all done. Top 3, write them down, work through one at a time. I think that's really critical. And then I would say, as the role I'm in right now as the president and building Guaranty Health Solutions, every day we're evolving. We're very much focused on scaling right now. And so working through our service line development and really just the core services of our organization, and working through performas and understanding better outcomes again for the patient. So what I want to stay true to is our foundation was built on making healthcare easier and better for our patients. And so as it's easy to go to the bottom line and focus on revenue, right? Oh, well, if we do this, we're going to make more money, but it doesn't really impact the patient all too much. It's more better for the partner. So what I am doing is driving us back to purpose. And so I would say, in the sense of prioritizing every day, that is the core focus of we're building this organization rooted in purpose and faith. Each day looks different, but my biggest solid advice is no more than 3 priorities on your to-do list.
Yeah, definitely. A big fan of prioritization, and I generally just prioritize on one item.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, because when you have too many things, your mind just kind of goes to over places. But yeah, then depending on your role, sometimes you don't have the luxury of just focus on one, and sometimes you cannot just work on one. Sometimes once you are stuck on one, you have to focus on 2 other ones as well. So, but definitely you want to limit the number to what you can actually focus on, what you can actually leave the most impact. So I have one last question for you. So what's next for you? What's your dream?
Oh, my dream. That's a great question. So my dream is to change the experience of healthcare at scale. I want to create a model where access is seamless, care is compassionate, and hospitality is treated as a standard, not an afterthought. I dream and I want GHS, so Guaranty Health Solutions, to become the partner healthcare organizations call when they're ready to elevate everything from front end to patient experience, the clinical training, the patient journey. I want to build a company that transforms cultures, systems, workflows, and lives, not just metrics. And on a personal level, my dream is to create impact that outlives me. For my sons to grow up seeing what's possible when you lead with integrity, empathy, and courage. And ultimately, I want to make healthcare feel human again. So those are my dreams.
Those are amazing dreams. Thank you for sharing your journey to inspire others.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate you having me.
For listening and hope that inspired you to reach the top. To get some help, check out our free services at humanprosperity.io.